Today I'm sitting with local actor Nick Muscatiello. He's also a regional and national actor, and last year he put on his first production. He has also done improv, and he was the frontman for a Woodstock cover group that toured nationally. So, as you can see, he's a bit of a thespian. I find that pretty interesting. So welcome to the very first episode of And We'll Find Out. What does that even mean? All right. So what would you say in the theater? Because in film, you'd say action when you're ready to go. What do you do in theater to like say this is when we're going now?
Usually it's just like go or like start.
All right, cool.
Yeah, there's no there because you don't. The lingo of theater is just like, all right, go ahead.
All right.
It's a lot more laid back. So they'll be like, all right, you do this, you do that. All right, show me. Go ahead.
That makes sense to me because with something like music, you need to have an established rhythm,
Sure.
and a beat. With a movie, things have to be synced up. But in theater, I would imagine the actors have to find the rhythm of the scene, and so you just saying "go" would let you to find it, I guess.
Right. Well, I mean that's especially in like rehearsal. It's a lot more laid back. They'll just be like, all right, go ahead. But there's a thing called tech in theater where you nail all your tech down for a show within a day or two. So within that, it's a lot more of like, all right, so we've got a lighting cue and it's cue 32 and it syncs up to this moment. So the show gets broken down a lot more into beats, and ideally everyone should be aware of these beats. Like, all right, so 32, you cross over here, this lighting cue happens, you hit this mark, and so we just go from there. But because it's an unbroken string of these beats, there's less of a focus on saying, all right, stop, start, stop, start, and more just like stringing them together and having a clear idea of, okay, this is the order things are going to happen in, and when this beat starts, this is what you have to do.
I get it. It's a little more like jazz,
Yeah.
or like improv. You mentioned you do improv.
Yeah, I did improv for a little while. I did improv with with Mop and Bucket Company in Schenectady for a long time, and that was a cool experience. And that, like, the principles of improv apply across the board with any kind of interaction that you're doing or that you're participating in as an actor. The rules are the same. So in any interaction, basically there's a few things that you should keep in mind. And the first is listening, like active listening. Because in any interchange or discourse, the majority of what you do is listen. So you... sorry, are you...
Sorry, bear with me. I'm still learning.
It's all right. We're going, yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So
I just had like a little brain fart,
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think I know. I think I know what you're talking about. But yeah, so you're in an exchange of offers, right? So you're making offers to your partner in any given interaction on stage. So your job in the scene is to take it in as well as you can and to accept and elevate the offers that are being given. So that's, in an improvisational scenario, that's what I'm focused on. And I bring that into other things as well, because even though the words are written down for you, you're not, you know what they're going to say, but you're not responding to that really. You're responding to the emotional offers that they're making you, and you're responding to the actions that they're taking. And you're trying to honor that and elevate it.
I don't mean to do this to you, but it's where my mind went immediately, because you said partner, and I do know like a little bit about improv. I know like the yes rule. You're supposed to say yes to whatever the person is, whatever the last person offered you. And you said the word partner, and I immediately just thought does this infect your dating life? Like, does this like, do you have trouble turning that off? Because I mean, are there similar boundaries within acting? You know what I mean?
Uh,
I'm sorry, it's a weird question.
no, I think it's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a complete philosophy for like how to interact with people. So always I'm trying to apply these like principles, but yeah, it can create a kind of mindset where maybe you're saying yes to things that you shouldn't.
Right.
In a dating or relationship context, like you're eager to make your partner look good, but like the way that dating works a little more is it's kind of a game of like who can pretend that they're not interested for the longest amount of time. So it
That's
blows
very true.
it blows your spot a little bit when you're like, I'm gonna take your offer and I'm gonna up it, and they're like, God, you're fucking desperate. Like, Jesus Christ.
That's so true.
You gotta relax.
That's
Yeah.
what I immediately, because I mean, I know what it's like to have trouble leaving work at work.
Yeah.
And I just wonder a little bit if that happens with you're like in the route, if you've just been doing a lot of improv, and even if you're say going from improv to theater, because you're in theater, if you're acting in theater, you can't just say yes to everything, especially if you're like you're if you're rehearsing, or like if you're, what's the word for practicing, I guess.
Rehearsing is, yeah.
Right, because I would imagine you're trying to figure out the right level, and
Right.
if someone's over the top or giving you too much.
Well, you can say yes to negative impulses as well. Like if someone's giving you a vibe like, nah, I don't really want to go down this road, say yes to that. It works that way too. It doesn't just blindly mean, oh, let's follow every impulse blindly. It means having sensitivity and listening. And if you're picking up a vibe of reluctance from someone, you acknowledge that and say yes to it. And
That's very wise. I mean, that's life lessons right there.
Yeah.
That's very applicable to pretty much everything, I think.
yeah, I am very wise.
I mean, it actually makes a lot of sense, just in terms of thinking about acting, acting mainly, because you're trying to portray something honestly, like a character honestly, and you must have to say yes to that character too, which is got to be hard at times. I can imagine that if you're playing maybe a character
like someone repulsive.
or just a character that you just isn't objectively repulsive, but you just have like me and this guy would never get along,
Right.
That it must be hard to do that. I'm thinking of Eddie Haskell for some reason. Like,
Sure. Like Leave It to Beaver?
only because my dad used to watch that show, and every time we ever watched it, they always said, they always said that the actor who played Eddie Haskell was the nicest guy on the show. And I don't know. That's where my mind went. To somebody really kind playing this like sniveling, terrible person.
Sure. I can think of an example of that. I did this show called The Little Foxes with a local company, Northeast Theater Ensemble, last year. And I played this character named Leo. And so this show is about a Southern family that they're comprised of like scheming aristocrats who are all trying to screw each other over to get at this guy's inheritance of this guy who's dying. And the character Leo is like this spoiled son of privilege who uses his position to like steal money from his uncle. And he's one of the he's terrible.
Jesus.
But I had to all the same find how I could sympathize. Because no one thinks that they're a bad person.
True.
Like no one thinks that they're evil or they don't set out to do wrong. They have like good intentions or intentions to like benefit themselves or to benefit people that they want things from. So so in response to what you're saying, like, you do have to, even with people who are questionable, find a way to like acknowledge them as people and to get inside them and to say, okay, I get why they're doing this.
It's a place of empathy. It sounds like you're coming at it from a place of empathy, which, man, it's tough to empathize with some people. That must have been interesting for the Vonnegut play you did, which I saw, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, thank you.
That was a very enjoyable play. I love Vonnegut. I actually think the only one I haven't read is Bluebeard, and it's because it's the only one I haven't read. And once I read it, I'll have read all of them, and I'll have nothing to look forward to. So I leave it for me to read at some point in the future. I don't know.
Oh no!
But what was the name of it?
Happy Birthday Wanda June.
Right. That has a lot of characters in it who I can see that like none of them are like great, none of them are like great people, but playing them, you'd have to understand why they think they are. Yeah, each of them, which is interesting. It gives you a good perspective on all. That play is actually perfect for that, I think, because of the nature of it.
Yeah, I mean one of the main guys in it is his name's Harold Ryan, and he's like a soldier and kind of like a swaggering like Ernest Hemingway type who's like super macho and like looks down on women and is like kind of a murderous bastard. But the guy who played it, who's a local clown by the name of Ragliacci, you did a great job. He found. He got inside that mindset and kind of found what justifies it and why someone would be like that. And so, sometimes I think that's the most interesting. Those are the interesting characters. Like it's both challenging and kind of boring to play someone who's just good, because it's like no one really is like that.
Right.
So
it's hard to pull it off, I would imagine.
It's just boring. It's just like, you're like, where's your soul? What's in there?
I get it. It's not fun. It's like playing top 40s music over and over again.
Right. It's feel good, but it's almost a little like you've got nothing going on in there. Like there's no kind of.
What's funny is in that play the stepfather type character.
Yeah.
He was the one that like made me cringe a little bit because he looked down on women too from his own.
He did
from his own warped way. Like, and that really gets under my skin because it seems so hidden. You know what I mean? It seems more insidious to me. I'm almost like more okay with the blatant stuff because it's like I see that, I know that's easy to spot and stay away from. This guy's fooling some people. I don't know. He just...
No, but a lot of people didn't catch that because I feel like they're conditioned when people say the right things to kind of say, oh, well, he's saying all the right things. But yeah, that is actually a big part of that. That other character didn't have the best attitude toward women or the world either, but he portrayed himself as being this like woke kind of, sensitive guy, so people gave him a pass. But he was actually kind of like a shitty guy too.
Yeah, he's an opportunist. It's like he's very sniveling, always like figuring out, well, if I say this, I'll move up a little further. She'll like me a little bit more, and then And
it's clear that she doesn't really want anything to do with him.
I know and she played that really well. She played that really well. That sort of. I don't know how.
But he's there and he's so nice.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, but it's like no, he's constantly scheming his way in there,
right? And
it's slimy. But I'm glad that came across because I was worried that just people would just find him kind of blankly sympathetic when in reality he is a little bit opportunistic, as you said.
The trick of it is the reason I think it worked is because in my mind, and I imagine in a lot of minds, there's the worry that he's supposed to be sympathetic, and that's exactly the problem with him. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you do it too blatantly, then it's going to be like obvious I'm not supposed to like this guy, and so I'm not really worried about him because what's worrisome about him is he's sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I thought he played it really well, and I thought the mother played really well.
Yeah,
and she's a little. I think I read it as she's like, well, compared to my husband. This guy, easy, I'm in control here, but
right.
I think she was a little naive about that personally. That's her naivety. Yeah, I like that. I like Vonnegut for that reason. He loves everyone, despite how horrible he knows they all are. It's what I love about Monica. That's like what I read in him. He's like, yeah, we all suck, and I love us. You know, I wouldn't change it, or if I would change things, but I wouldn't change people. Yeah, interesting. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to love about people is the things that are wrong with them.
Yeah.
And that's what I was getting at before. If someone has nothing wrong with them, there's nothing to latch onto.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of at the root of like finding empathy or finding the core of a person is identifying the things that are wrong with them and saying, all right, but you're still all right, though.
Right.
You know,
that's it's hard to play it's hard for the good guy, like Captain America, right? His problem is that he has to be good.
Yep.
You know, that's his problem. His flaw is that he has to be good. He can't stop.
Yep.
And it makes him.
Oh, it's a trap because
Yeah,
if he isn't the best guy all the time, then that's what he has. Like, who is he at that point? Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Huh. So what are you? I know that you told me. Repeat it to me again. You told me a couple of weeks ago. Last year you did a lot.
Yeah.
You did a lot. Can you give me the list again?
Sure. So last year I starred in 6 shows and I directed 1. So I did Happy Birthday Wanda June, and then I was in then I was in
You can move it. You can
yeah.
move it, but keep it right up to your mouth. Sorry.
I was in The Seagull, which is by Anton Chekhov, and I played Trigorin in that, which is a great role. I played Jamie in the last 5 years, which is a 2-person musical at Cook Park in Colony with director and actress around here, Krista Dennis, and that was great. I did...
Wait, you played Jamie in what?
It's called The Last 5 Years.
Okay.
So it's a 2-person like opera, basically. It's pretty wild because there's nothing to fall back on. Mostly in most shows, you got a big cast and you're not on stage the whole time. But in that, it's just you and one other person, and you're telling it's the story of a married couple and their breakup, and the guy's story is told in going forward and hers is told in reverse, and they meet at the middle in their wedding. So it was intense. Like it was a pretty wild thing.
So then that's 1 of 6.
That's 1 of 6. Yeah. So
In what time period were these 6?
Within a year.
Within a year. Was any of them overlapping?
Yes.
How many? What was the? I'm sorry. I'm going to hammer you with questions right now.
That's fine.
How many were overlapping at any? What was the maximum overlap?
I was doing 2 at a time.
You're insane. I mean, what were you doing at the same time as Jamie?
I was doing The Seagull. So I was doing this like really kind of wordy Russian play, and then also this musical.
I wanted to see that, and I never got around to seeing it, and I'm bummed about that.
It's all good, man. It was a cool thing. Northeast they do locational theater. So they find locations that suit these plays instead of doing them in a conventional theater space, and they do it like that.
That's neat.
Yeah. So The Seagull was done at Maybe Farms in Duanesburg, and it's this old Dutch barn from the 1800s that we cleared out, and we set up chairs and stuff in, and it's a huge kind of old barn structure. And it lent a lot to the atmosphere of it because it had this, as the barn doors were open, is like big pastoral field looking out there, and like the fresh open air was coming in, and it made it really really immersive.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's
really cool. What was your character like in that?
So he's a novelist. So he's a famous novelist in Russia, and it's in the tail end of the 1800s. So he's a contemporary of the guy who wrote War and Peace. You know him.
Tolstoy.
Mm-hmm. Contemporary of Tolstoy, who's mentioned by name in the show, and a couple of other writers from that time. But Dostoevsky, others.
Yeah.
But
or after Pushkin or before them. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Russian literature.
Russian lit. Yeah. Not Prokofiev because he was a composer. I'm blanking on the names now because it's been a while since I have engaged with this work. But so he's a novelist, and he goes out into the countryside with his kind of paramour or girlfriend who's like a nationally famous actress. And so she's going back to her childhood home and revisiting all the people there. And he encounters a young woman there, and there's a love triangle that happens between the three of them. So yeah, it's a great part. It's actually for actors, it's kind of a dream role because you get to play this tension between a relationship of convenience and like him trying to like escape the fact that he feels like his writing is substandard, and he's kind of like phoning it in with his books. And so it's a very rich role, one that I enjoyed playing very much.
So he's phone, and then the other guys, it's a love story. But what was Jamie like? Like, what's his?
It's funny because there were a lot of parallels between these two plays. So Jamie is also
pull the mic right up to your mouth.
I'm just getting rid of this.
Yeah.
Fly.
You can pull on that too.
Yeah, I'll
move it wherever you want.
I'll just slide over a little bit. So Jamie is also a writer who gets involved with his editor while he's married to his wife. So I was playing two writers who are struggling with their incompetence and in love triangles at the same time, but just in very different formats.
That sounds to me like it could be, that could make it more doable or less doable, because if they're very similar, the easy answer is to see why that would be helpful, because they're in maybe similar mindsets. But the subtleties, I imagine, are quite different. And I can imagine you getting into maybe a muscle memory and like accidentally, the risk of accidentally being this other person.
Like conflating them, like making them the same guy, which I really didn't want to do because they are very different. And they come from different backgrounds and they have different kind of ways of thinking about things. One's like an old school Russian novelist, and one is like a young Columbia grad.
Very different than that.
Yeah. So they did have kind of similar stories, but how they are and how they act and move and speak are very different. And I don't actually really speak as Jamie at all. It's all sung. So that helped.
That helps. That gotta help. Yeah, okay. I have a question for you before we continue on to 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 roles. I've always wondered this. Is there like a word to distinguish a play that's a musical and a play that isn't? Is it just musical and non-musical? I mean, I don't. Is there a word for that? Like, because I realize that this I go to Broadway with my family. We try to go once a year to go see a play, and we went and saw To Kill a Mockingbird this year, which I really, really, really liked. I would recommend it. I actually think that Jeff Daniels is in it.
Yep.
I think he's the weakest point, but nothing against him. It's just I think he's a film actor.
Sure.
I feel like if I was very close and could hear him very well and could see his facial expressions, maybe I would have benefited more. But you can't like bring your volume of your voice too low, and he kind of did that, and in ways that made sense for what he was doing. If he had a microphone on him, maybe, and a lot of what he was doing, I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You're making perfect sense. So he wasn't mic'd during the performance.
If he was, it didn't feel quite right. It didn't match with the other actors either. Like and gestures too. When you're on film, the camera's exactly where you want it to be. It needs to be close up if it needs to be close up. But on stage, you're dealing with people from a million angles, and it's like the subtleties of your facial expression have to be more. I feel like in the audience have to be a little more extreme. They have to be noticeable in a way. You know what I mean by that?
I do.
And I felt like he didn't quite. I don't begrudge the guy. He's a fantastic actor. I was a little. I think it's surprising because he was the star. You know, he played Atticus Finch, and he was the name. You know, he's the guy. Aaron Sorkin actually wrote the screenplay too. It was actually really, really good.
Yeah.
I went in kind of skeptical because I mean, my dog is named after the main character of that show, so I have an attachment to that.
You might be a little biased. You might have some ideas of what it should be. Yeah.
But he did completely he changed it. He changed the structure of it, but it made sense for the stage the way he did it, and he updated it so that it felt more relevant to now, but it didn't lose its heart and soul. You know, it did a good job. But anyway, so I just recognized, like, after I was like, oh, there wasn't really any singing in that, you know, and there wasn't in Death of a Salesman. But
no, there's no singing in Death of a Salesman. He doesn't after his son calls him an asshole. He doesn't like break out the jazz hands. And you know.
The other one, you'll start to understand the trend with my family. We went and saw it's a Jimmy Stewart movie where he can see an imaginary bunny.
Oh, Harvey
and Jim something, the guy who Big Bang Theory, Sheldon.
Jim Parsons.
Jim Parsons was the guy.
Yeah, okay, I could see that.
It was pretty good. I think
it
was okay. I enjoyed it. He thought he did it pretty good. But I noticed that for some reason it stuck in my head that there was no music in those.
So there's you've got a few questions here. All right, or a few kind of things to address. First, is there a word for non-musical plays? I guess the actors that I've heard, they call them straight plays as opposed to, but I think of them as like dramas or just plays. There's no special term. Stage acting as opposed to film acting, yes, I agree with you. If someone's underplaying, like my philosophy has always been, if the farthest person in the audience can't see what you're doing, then it's not enough. Right? And it's tough because you don't want to overact, but the reality is that you're playing to a huge room. So if what you're saying isn't hitting the back wall, you got to hit those back walls, and your physicality isn't up and out, then you're going to get lost and you're going to seem small and muted. So there's that. And Jim Parsons, I feel like he's like he's one of those guys where like he plays himself, right? Yeah. He has no range. Like he just is always.
I guess
that
I wouldn't
kinda...
know. I don't know. I mean, I guess we haven't seen any. We haven't.
You're being so charitable, Tim. You're like, well, maybe he does, but he just has chosen not to play the same.
Maybe he's actually autistic,
guy.
And that's maybe he's actually. I don't mean. Maybe he's actually autistic, and he's just like, I'm gonna play. I can play autistic really well.
In which case, here we are just mocking an autistic person, and shame on us.
Yeah, I think he understands how to manipulate emotions a little bit too much to be autistic.
Well, maybe his like autistic obsession is acting. You know, like
that's man.
You know,
man, that could be a dangerous thing.
Yeah,
in the wrong direction. You do that off the stage, man. That would be dangerous. They'd be really good at it. It's like. Verging on psychopathy.
Yeah,
that's a little scary.
If you told me that Jim Parsons is a sociopath, I wouldn't put it past him.
He could do it. He could be a lot of people are sociopaths, right? Like 1 in 10 or something like that.
Is it that high?
I think it's a lot of people.
10%.
Yeah, I think.
And actors, it's like 6 out of 10. It's a very high percentage.
When you think about it, it kind of makes sense that if you just think about human beings as like just a species,
yeah,
you know, with our different strategies, you'd want a good 10% of the people to be sociopaths. Just you want
to
those
cover your
crazy
bases?
Soldiers, you know, like you want those people who are a little bit nuts. Just otherwise, when things are a little bit nuts, you won't have anybody to take care of it.
Or
you won't have somebody do something that seems impossible.
Sure. Yeah, because they just don't give a shit. So
Yeah.
they're like they'll do the things that no one else wants to.
Do you think Elon
to
Musk
touch.
is a
Oh,
sociopath?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are we? Is the evil fucking robot billionaire a sociopath? Yes.
I don't think he's evil. I like him. Why don't you like Elon?
I like Elon. I just think maybe, if you and I had to get turned into biofuel, he wouldn't
Yeah.
hesitate really to make that call.
He does have that calculating thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I'm sure he's a great
Yeah.
guy to pal around with and everything, but I don't think he would have any problems executing the, like, cold calculus of capitalism.
I think I agree with you, but I think he knows about himself, which is why he's trying so hard not to get to prevent.
Like, he
The
knows that
world-
he would be capable of that? Okay.
Not that he would be capable of it, but that would be his function in the world where the world went to that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. This is dark, but like maybe he's aware of the fact that if the world goes where I think it's going, I'm going to be a bad person. So I'm going to try to be the best person I can be right now and fix as much shit as I can.
Sure.
Because maybe then I won't have to eat people.
Yeah. Well, I think once he goes to Mars and he's got like a contingent of elites and he builds some sex robots.
You should write that play,
and
man. Elon goes to
Mars. You bear a passing resemblance to Elon Musk. I don't
Really?
think.
Earlier you said I was Dick Van Dyke and now I'm Elon Musk.
Which would you prefer?
Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right call. But I think
I wouldn't want the pressure of being Elon Musk.
no,
No.
not even on stage.
No, I wouldn't want that much money ever. I wouldn't want the pressure to succeed in so many things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that. He must have self-imposed pressure on all those things. No, don't want that. Dick Van Dyke, we talked about this earlier. He was dancing on a desk in the new Mary Poppins movie.
You think you could handle that?
That would be a goal. That'd be great. I'd much rather that.
Well, I mean, okay, all right. So let's talk about the onus of power that comes with having control over or having unlimited resources, right?
sure, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I think that a lot of people are quick to hate on or to judge people who are in positions of great power like that.
You should be.
You should be, absolutely, but like, who can really say how they would behave if, for example, you said tomorrow you can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. You can do whatever you want. So, like, first of all, you've got engineering genius and unlimited resources to execute your goals. Second of all, you have access to anything you could possibly want, and pretty much, unless you do something monumentally stupid, you're gonna be fine. Like, no one's gonna come for you.
That is scary.
So, at that point, who do you have to like regulate your own behavior but yourself?
You're making me admire the guy. You know, that makes him admirable to me.
Empathy,
because
man.
that makes me I do. Did you see the Joe Rogan experience with him on
Oh,
it?
where he like smoked the joint and like
Yeah.
I saw the meme, but I didn't like listen to the episode or anything.
There was one part where he was talking about AI and what it's going to do to people, and it was clear it was not something he likes. It's not. It was like he was like, I've tried to warn people. I don't, and it was not a. It was. You would think he'd be like all for.
No, but he's in a position to know. He's like seen what actually
Yeah.
with like granularity what can and will come of it.
Yes.
So I think that might be a warning to heed.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know.
I will say this: for somebody who has that much access, he's doing a pretty good job. I think he's doing all right. He's. I haven't seen anything that I've been too angry at him for.
Right.
I do think. I think he must. Man, imagine being him. Imagine like everything you say is gonna be listened to, and you gotta be careful about that.
Sure.
He finds ways to be humorous on Twitter, which I think is great. I
think it's certainly admirable given his position. Like you said, he's constantly scrutinized. So just even maintaining a sense of humor under those circumstances is at least noteworthy, if not remarkable or admirable. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But he could just have a bad day. You know, he could just have the Killing Joke, one bad day. You know that? Imagine if he was the one who had that one bad day.
Yeah.
That is pretty scary. Who would regulate him? Well, no one can do it. Oh my God. That is pretty terrifying. But at the same time, there's a part of me that says that's worrisome, and there's a part of me that says it's worrisome not to allow him to be in the position, because maybe it takes someone with that. Maybe it takes that amount of centralized ability and access in order to actually change anything. I mean, I guess we'll see in 10 years.
So you want Elon for Emperor of the New Earth?
No. I would rather have like 4 Elons. You know, I would
a council. Yeah, a ruling council
that disagree with one another.
A team of rivals.
Yes, but don't start wars. You know, like chums. You know, like okay,
chums.
I have a. Do you have an arch nemesis?
I'm not willing to say on this podcast.
I have an arch nemesis. I think it's important to have an arch nemesis. He's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
We talk on WhatsApp once in a while. He's Captain, or no, I'm Captain America and he's Iron Man.
Sure.
Right. So when he comes on, he's gonna wear those headphones and I'm gonna wear those blue ones over there.
Oh, nice.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Nice
Sorry.
grab. Yeah. Very good.
So it's good to have an arch nemesis. I feel like if I was Elon Musk, I would want this guy that I'm an arch nemesis with to be on pretty equal playing field with me because or somebody like him.
Checks and balances.
Yeah, I'd rather somebody who like sometimes I want to strangle him, but I never will.
Yeah.
You know, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really. We get in disagreements. He's very oh man, how do we do this? He's very like scientific, very science oriented, where I'm more arts oriented. I feel like more I can understand religion, you know, and I can understand when we watch a movie we have completely different reasons for liking or hating it. How about that? So we both didn't like Star Wars The Last Jedi, which how did you feel about it? Because I know a lot of people who loved it and I know a lot of people who hated it.
Can I couch something? Didn't watch it.
Wow, I haven't met anybody who said that.
Did not watch it. No, I didn't particularly care for the new Star Wars after the first one, and I was like, you know,
You might like it then, because it doesn't matter. But either way, it was interesting the reasons why we disliked the movie.
Sure.
You know, because I came at it from like a story is important to me. Storytelling is important to me, and for me, story is about. I'd actually really like to hear your take on this because for me, story is the thing that's the same. You know, you have theater, Chromoscope has film, an author writes for a book, but it's the thing that unifies it is the story. You know, but you tell a story differently.
Yeah.
In the different there's story in music too. You know.
Oh yeah.
But the story is the thing that unites them. And the thing that human beings seem to be unable to do without, and I think that's what story is constantly refining an understanding of the patterns we're all susceptible to. So, you know, Macbeth is a great tragedy, and it's not that you're going to actually live that life. It's just that someone who lives that life, that's how that's going to go. You know, like that's the tragedy of that life if you can't overcome that kind of pride or that kind of pride, I guess. But it's like a fundamental pattern of human behavior that just never goes away.
True.
And the story is the thing that helps you to understand what's happening and also helps you to caution yourself. You know, you identify with the hero, or you identify with the person who transcended it, and you see the person who's like you, who was in a tragedy and didn't go so well for them, and you see that as, I better not let myself get to that point. You know.
Sure.
So I think that's why stories have beats and stories have, archetypes. There are things that transcend. The patterns continue, and I actually, subversion is an interesting topic because I think subversion is important, but I think it's often done wrong. And I want to hear your thoughts on this because my way of understanding subversion done right is you subvert the pattern by refining it. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first season of Game of Thrones, what happens? This is not a spoiler for anyone. Ned Stark gets his head cut off, right?
Yes.
That's good subversion for me because when you revisit it, you realize this is the same archetype that's existed through time. That's the blind king. This is the guy in charge who couldn't see the way the world was. He couldn't see it, and he paid the price for it,
Sure.
But they subverted it by making him the hero because it helps you to understand that archetype better. You know what I mean? It helps you to understand that pattern better by subverting it, if that makes any sense. So, I don't know if I'm making any sense or not. I think...
I don't know either, but we're here.
Well, I think that's the difference between subversion that works and, for me, the subversion that just is yeah, no one expected that. The not expecting it isn't enough.
Yeah.
No,
you have to consciously kind of have in mind the things or the themes within a work that you want to question, and then have something to say about how they should be different.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny. I was actually thinking about this a little earlier. And I think that's what drew people to that series and to that, the whole story of Game of Thrones for a long time was the fact that it had new things to say about these archetypes. And it's really funny. I read the books years ago. I read them when they came out in 1998.
That's awesome.
The original A Song of Ice and Fire, I picked it up in a hobby shop back then. And if someone had told me then that this weird story about incest and child murder with a million fucking characters would have become the international sensation that everyone is talking about now, I would never have believed it. But
would you have believed that Donald Trump was going to be president at the same
but
time?
No, but here we are in a world of imagination. So, anything is possible. But yeah, it's a very interesting timeline that we find ourselves in. But yeah, I think that was what was really cool about Game of Thrones is that it knew what people expected and tweaked it a little bit and had things to say about why are you expecting this? What makes you expect that and what should you expect? So as we moved into this last season, I feel like there was a failure a little bit to kind of create a payoff for continuing to do that.
I'm a hater of this last season.
Yeah.
I know some people enjoyed it. And I don't ever want to convince someone not to enjoy something they enjoy.
Sure.
But I think it's objectively terrible writing. I can't help it. I don't even see it as subjective. I don't know how you could. Here's my theory on this. This is what I think really happened. I think that Dave and Dan, D&D.
Yep.
I think they fell out of love with it. I think that they didn't want to do it anymore. They're now working on the Star Wars movies.
Sure.
And I think they just wanted to be done with it, which I understand. I do understand that. What I don't understand is why they didn't pass the torch. I don't understand why, because HBO originally wanted at some point wanted 10 seasons. And for this season, they wanted 10 episodes. So the idea that they were somehow limited to 8 seasons is not true.
No.
They also had 2 years to get this season right, and man, I just feel like it was irresponsible of them to work on it when I'm sorry. For me, it's clear they just didn't want to do it.
It was just kind of being phoned in. Yeah.
But to be fair, I do want to say this. I'm sorry. I do want to say it looked amazing. And the cast and crew did a fantastic job. Like, the amount of work that had to have gone into this last season must have been insane.
Yep.
It's basically like 5 movies. And
Yep.
And it's I don't know how the heck they could have done that.
Oh, I mean, the cinematography was insane. Like the actual, like, the battles themselves, the performances were really good. I felt like
The editing too.
the editing was fantastic. I just felt like the actual core of the story was a little bit, phoned in, a little stilted. Like, they went for things that hadn't been properly set up or hadn't been properly earned. And I mean, but I think this happens with, like, a lot of shows that go over like 5 or 6 seasons. You know?
I do. Keep talking. Sorry.
No, it's all good. How long are we going right now?
I don't know. I was gonna check on that.
Yeah.
Sorry to be a jerk. It's just
Oh no, you're fine.
I'm still learning, and I'm not super confident that everything is always still working.
Right.
You know? And there's like, I have moments that I need to let go of. Like, I just got to let it go. But I will over time when I'm proven to myself that they're still working. Last time
did you lose some audio or something?
I accidentally didn't have the laptop plugged in all the way.
Yeah.
So the battery died. You know. So I got a little moment, and I'm trying real hard to get past it, but I apologize.
It's on your mind.
It is, and I like this conversation. I don't want to like not have it. So
sure.
Anyway,
but like, how are we for time? Like, how long do you want the?
You can go as long as you want. I'm good.
I mean,
dude,
it's your thing. I mean, if you want to have it be like over an hour, I mean,
I feel like they're going to be as long as they are.
All right.
Some people want to do them shorter. Some people want to do them longer.
It just goes as long as it goes.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is a good example of what I want to happen on this podcast. I guess
Sure.
like, you're the first person who's going to be on like the real podcast. You know that, right?
First guest.
Yeah.
What do you have a name?
What does that even mean?
What does that even mean?
Yeah,
Man.
Yeah. So that exactly because it allows me to talk about anything.
Right.
I really want to talk. I want to talk to you about what you do.
Sure.
You know? And that's why I like starting from there, because you're passionate about what you do. You care about what you do, and it allows me to live vicariously through you. And no, but like let's say I'm an appreciator.
Sure.
People always see me at places, and I don't know why. I don't know why I am places sometimes.
I almost never know why I am where I am. In fact, I make it a habit to not know. I just like to kind of
that's
make everything I do arbitrary for the most part. Yeah.
Same. So yeah, that's I want it to have form, but be formless at the same time.
Like water, my friend.
Yes, like water. Like Louis Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Yes. Oh, jeez.
But yeah, so you're the first guest in this setup that is like official. I did one with Joe Woodall and their friend Taylor.
Yeah.
But it was like for me to play around with it.
Kind of like test episode type deal.
Yeah, and I figured out a lot of stuff that was wrong, and I probably will figure out a lot of stuff that's wrong right now.
Yeah.
But at least, hopefully, the cameras didn't go out of focus this time. The battery didn't die on the laptop.
Let's give it a look. Hold on. How's Jimmy look?
You want to look?
I don't want to pull the headphones
You're
out.
good. You look good. It's all right.
Perfectly framed.
Yeah, it's fun. There's actually 4 microphones, so I can do up to 3 guests.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's tougher with the cameras.
Yeah.
When I have that many people.
You can probably just move them back or like widen the focus a little bit. Like, I don't know.
The best compromise I've found is to go underneath the arm like that.
Oh yeah.
Because it.
And then it gets you.
Yeah, and I do it underneath my own. It gives me. I'm limited, but I would sit there. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. I actually do want to go back to the plays, because you said you did 6. Okay,
Yeah.
So you did 2 people who were in a love triangle.
Cheating writers.
Yeah, cheating writers. So what were when was that? How long was that?
That was from March to April or May of 2018.
Okay. And then what was next?
So next was Othello and Twelfth Night, two Shakespeare's concurrently.
Who did you play?
In Othello, I played Cassio, who is kind of the guy, the fall guy. It's the guy who Iago sets up to convince Othello that his wife is cheating on him by kind of playing on his jealousy. And then in Twelfth Night, I played Malvolio, who is a steward to this duchess who gets a trick played on him where they write him because he's kind of like an officious sort of like scold type guy. So they play a trick on him to convince him that the Duchess is in love with him when in fact she's not. So again,
so they're very similar again
to parallel kind of characters.
Kind of the stooge, like the guy who's getting one
put over
on
on him.
Yeah.
Two people who are being used as a pawn, like by either getting convinced that someone's in love with them or convincing other people. And these guys are actually very different, but their through line or their kind of storyline is similar.
Okay, so let me use a music analog because I think that's what. So it's like you're playing two songs. Oh man, this isn't gonna work, is it? This is like they're the same genre. No, they're different genres, but they're in the same topic.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So does that work?
So it would be like two songs about getting screwed over in love, but one's a hard rock song and
one's an emo song.
Yeah, like an emo song. Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly. Same topic, very different genres, yeah.
Okay, so I could see that's kind of good because you wouldn't be able to bleed from one to the other where they're different, Right.
I could identify like the similar themes there, but they were completely different characters.
That's good. That's actually perfect, I think, for two at a. I would imagine that's the ideal for two characters at the same time.
Right, because you can explore all the aspects of this kind of theme, this emotional theme.
Okay.
Yeah. Othello was a lot of fun. We had, what I did mostly in that show was fight people. So I like fist fights and sword fights and stuff, which is one of my favorite parts of getting to do acting is to playing with swords and kind of.
Yeah. Okay. What is that? Like the physical act? There's a lot there, isn't there? There's the vocal work.
Yeah.
You have to be able to memorize your lines.
Sure.
You have to be able to speak eloquently and clearly.
Yeah.
And loudly without yelling. Which is like I don't understand that. Maybe you can.
I'm sure you do, though. You know how to project your voice without yelling. Most people do. They do it unconsciously. Like, you just kind of... I'm not going to do it because it'll be obnoxious. But you speak from your diaphragm and you...
I guess I can't imagine doing it consciously. I think it happens without me knowing it.
Yeah.
But like willing it to happen is difficult for me to imagine.
Right. I mean, it's a skill. It's a skill like anything else.
But so there's that. There's all that. There's also you must have to also memorize placement. You have to be in certain places at certain times.
Yep.
And then if there's anything physical, you have to get that down. That's a lot.
Right. I mean, people. One of the things that kind of is frustrating to me and to a lot of professional actors is people think it's easy. They think that. Oh, acting is just you go there and you look pretty and you say some stuff, and when in reality it's a pretty rigorous discipline where you can be asked to do virtually anything on a given day, and it's your job to like do it and do it well.
Yeah, I think anybody who thinks acting is easy is jealous.
Yeah,
like
jealous or naive.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I find it hard to believe anybody's that naive. I mean, how could you not think that embodying another person who doesn't exist through revealing aspects of yourself, I imagine. You must have to reveal aspects of yourself in that. At least it's like I don't know how to say this. It's definitely revealing. It's definitely something that like you couldn't do without balls. Like, I mean, you have to be somewhat courageous to get up there, and it's not just stage fright.
Yeah.
Well, I think stage fright actually stems from that, and people just don't know that. Being in front of people is difficult to begin with, but being in front of people and one going to be judged for the performance, but also that like you're being pretty vulnerable. I mean, actually, I don't think it matters which role you're playing, even if it's somebody who's nothing like you. You're at least being vulnerable about your potential for that.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know. I think the good actors do that. Like they access that part of themselves and they like tell their truth. But also sometimes it's not always either like efficient or smart to put yourself out there in that way. So there is a certain kind of, sometimes you can just do it competently and you can fall back on technique or skill to portray it in a way that will read to people, but some things you feel more and some things you feel less. And I like when you're really into something and you really like it really resonates with you, then it can create something that's really kind of special. But it's not always like that. And sometimes you have to just fall back on, okay, I know that pitching my voice at this timbre and doing this and, making my face look like this will get it across. And I don't necessarily have to feel it like with that intensity every single time.
That actually makes sense now that I'm thinking about it. If everybody on stage was doing that, it wouldn't be great.
No.
I mean, most scenes are about one or two characters.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
Everybody else is kind of part of making you see that. And
yeah, it's supporting.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And I mean, like and that's fine. Like you have to kind of also have a sense of what is appropriate in that moment. Like if everyone's like pulling focus and being the star of the show, then it creates confusion and everyone's like, well, like a big part of creating pictures on stage is like knowing when to just fade back and kind of be present, but don't actively be like pulling people's attention toward you because it's a distraction.
Yeah, that's like basketball or something.
Exactly. It's a team sport.
Yeah.
It really is. So like you don't always have to be like the center of attention. In fact, you should never be shooting to be, really. I mean,
even if you should be.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like things things are constructed like, and you there are techniques for like constructing pictures on stage where it's like, okay, everyone is focused in this direction, like the way you're turned and where you're looking and how you're looking. It's all designed to pull the focus of the audience toward certain things or certain points.
Oh, like a painting.
Exactly.
The artist wants to draw your eye. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think some of the best directed plays I've seen have a really strong sense of where the focal point of the scene is at any given point, and all the blocking, as it's called, which is basically how you're arranged on stage, is focused toward a specific thing very intentionally. But
blocking is, I think, vital. Both in film and in movies, and I think a lot of directors today don't do it well. No. I don't. You know what I mean? I don't. You can tell a lot about what you are looking at based on what you can and can't see, or based on what is in front or in the back, or what is lit up and what isn't, or what is lit with a different kind of light than everything else. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like And it's like looking at a painting. You're supposed to question, like, notice what your eyes are drawn to,
Sure.
you know? And
Yeah, absolutely.
one of the reasons I stopped watching a lot of, like, I can't watch a lot of movies. You know, I had to train myself to watch the Marvel movies because there's so much happening in them.
I totally know what you're talking about. Like, I think that new style of filmmaking where it's a lot of quick cuts and like things are constantly moving and zooming in and out. Like it can for me be very like disorienting. Like, and I feel like it's not as rewarding of an experience because it's just a barrage. It's not like you're never really focusing on any one thing. It's just a constant kind of barrage of images and sounds,
Right.
and like it's meant to overwhelm you.
Yeah, I had that period where I was like, this is making me not feel good. I don't enjoy this. And then I had this period, and then I like was questioning why, and I was like, oh, it's just laziness. Like, it's laziness on part of the viewer because it just feels like a lot's happening. You know, you don't have to do it. You don't have to pay attention. You know, you can, like, you just know, okay, a lot of stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Everything, it's like, it's the laziest way to watch a movie. But it's also, it's not lazy necessarily in the way they make it, but in a lot of times I think it is. It's like, well, we'll just, film a lot and cut it together. And
I think that's probably partially true. I think also partially those films are by design not they're that way by design. They're designed to overwhelm and to shut your brain off and to get you to kind of passively observe.
I can't do that.
Yeah,
that's why it makes me sick to try to watch it. So yeah, I had to learn. Did have to learn that to watch the Marvel movies because they do have moments that are good.
Oh sure,
but they also I can't. Modern action sequences, just for the most part, do not. John Wick does. John Wick does a good job, right?
Because there's always a sense of like positioning and where everyone is at every given time, and you can kind of like you follow a path of action, rather than just like things flying at each other without any real sense of space.
This is happening in a real space, in reality, not just like there's so much happening that I don't know if this is real.
And well, I mean, is when Thor jumps off the ship with Mjolnir, is it real? When Iron Man shoots the laser beams out of his palms, I'm questioning the reality of this.
You know what I mean? Is it like a real space?
No, but I know exactly what you mean. But like, is it occurring within like a defined space where like I know where everyone is at every given time? Yes.
And because I can't handle if it doesn't. But theater doesn't have the option.
No, it's like it absolutely is within a defined space.
Right. You don't have you don't have that trick. You don't get to edit it. You don't.
Oh, those shit. There's some wild stuff happening at like MPAC right now. Like the things they can do with like placing lighting and sound right now, and in black box spaces where they have total control over like how the light is in the room at any given time. It's a whole different ballgame, man. Like I saw this guy Andrew Schneider there last year, and he did 2 plays there. After and God, what was it called? Beyond, I want to say, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that this guy was able to use the tech in the space in such an inventive way. So like there were massive LED strips that were all throughout the theater, right? And so you could go from full illumination to total darkness in a millisecond. And he had such a familiarity with the space that he would teleport around the theater. So the lights would shut off for like a very specific interval, and he would just be like, he'd be there, and then he'd be over here, and then he'd be sitting right next to you, and it was all timed out perfectly. So it looked like he was like just zipping around in space and moving perfectly silently. So the things that were happening in there were unreal, and I hope to see more of that as theater moves forward as an art form, because right now these technologies are only available in like state-of-the-art places like that. Right.
That's really cool, though.
But
I can imagine some things you could do with lighting.
Or things where like they have special filters on these lights where it would just be a frame around his face and everything else in the theater would be in total darkness. So there's a lot in terms of how directors and actors and artists can direct focus in theaters that wasn't possible even 5 or 10 years ago, that now is becoming available, which is pretty remarkable.
For whatever reason, this thought is popping into my head. How would you show in a play someone who's alone with a lot of people? You know, like alone in a very populated area. And I think, like, when I think of like films or plays I've seen, I think one technique is just, you know, everybody else kind of mumbles quietly.
Right.
You know, but the main character starts singing or something. You
Sure.
know? That's one way to do it. Or with a spotlight on them, different lighting. But with what you're talking about, you could potentially have regular lighting on everybody and have some kind of a crazy,
like, special light on them.
Yeah, with them in some kind of a secluded darkness, so that they, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That'd be kind of neat. That's really cool to think about. How do you do blocking if you don't have control over where people are sitting, you know,
in like that specific circumstance.
Yeah.
Like when you're going into the audience, I mean, you play it by ear, man. Sometimes the answer is you just because I was thinking about what it must have taken. There were people in there where they were like sitting on like the not in seats, but like on the steps of the stage and stuff. So he must have just had the presence of mind and the spatial awareness to place himself with perfect precision on the fly in total darkness, which
Jesus.
Sometimes you just...
That's like a super athlete.
Yeah.
That's like Michael Jordan, you know,
He was. The spatial awareness and timing and precision of this guy, unreal. So that was one of the most exciting things I've seen recently was Andrew Schneider.
Andrew Schneider, where does he do this?
I mean, he's touring around right now, I think, with his third show. And the last I heard, he was down, I think, in Poughkeepsie or Hudson. But anytime I hear about him, I always try to make it out. So I'll have to let you know the next time he's...
That's cool. Yeah, you should let me know of some more interesting things, because like when I go see a play, I'm usually I want to go see something that's just interesting to me or is like popular, you know. It's what I've been wearing. I couldn't wear it tonight because I've been wearing it all week. My Hasadega Ibue t-shirt.
Hasadega Ibue.
Yeah, from
I don't know what that is.
It's from the Book of Mormon.
I'm a bad musical boy. I've not had the good fortune to see the Book of Mormon, unfortunately.
Oh, I saw it at Proctor's.
Yeah,
it was with that. It's basically Hakuna Matata, and it means fuck God.
I've heard the soundtrack and the We Are Africa song always. Like, I am the tears of Nelson Mandela. That line, like, just always.
It's such an interesting play because I love those guys. You know, they can do literally anything.
Trey and Matt.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They can do but they do it from a place that criticizes everything. You know.
Yeah.
It's not an anti-religion play. It's this is ridiculous. This is human beings being ridiculous. And that's it.
I know, man. Oh, I've been fans of that. I mean, like, since Cannibal the Musical, even before South Park came out, and Orgasmo,
I saw that movie.
Which many hate on, but I think is actually a sleeper kind of comedy classic.
I think it's great, especially when you put it into context of where they were in their career and where they've gotten to, and like... You understand this is like a serious stepping stone for them. This is vital, you know. It also I can't imagine they had any money.
Oh no.
I can't imagine they had any hope of anybody seeing this movie. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they did it. And you watch it, it's like, wow, this is actually really funny.
Yep.
You know?
Oh yeah, that Basketballs, which was hated on, but
yeah,
again,
but that was funny too.
It was all right, you know.
I don't hate anything they've done. Team America.
Team America is
amazing.
one of the most amazing.
It's amazing.
And I think they are one of the most underappreciated musical theater composing duos, and I think they deserve a place in the conversation for best ever.
Well, in the Book of Mormon, I mean,
Book of Mormon is one of the most successful musicals of all time.
yeah.
And then both South Park the movie and Team America
Yes.
World Police were musicals and very good ones.
Incredibly good ones. Like, yeah. Can you imagine being? I think most of the music is Trey. I think it's Trey Parker. Can you imagine that being like, I'm really good at comedy cartoons, so that's not good enough.
I guess I'll also become one of the greatest
Right.
musical composers
Right.
in the world. Yeah.
Hey, there you go. There's Elon Musk's.
His third kind of go.
That's his art. That's the art side of that. You know, you got Trey in the arts. You got Elon in the sciences. You got.
You're saying that Elon Musk is the Trey Parker of
science. Yes.
It's a hot take. I love it.
Yeah. It's like they're people who are incredibly good at too many things.
Right. So who is the Matt Stone to Elon's Trey Parker? Is it
Oh, geez, I don't know. Maybe it's Peter Thiel. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just kind of keeps the gravity down. Being like, yeah, you know, money still does exist. It's still a real thing.
Right.
Still means a lot to a lot of people. We
Well,
still have to fund this.
I think we should Elon and we should propose this that Peter and Elon are the Trey and Matt of the engineering and science world.
Yeah, I think they are. I think if we're gonna have a council of Earth to go,
All right. So it's Elon and Peter and then Trey and Matt.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe one or two more people.
Maybe, but I mean, those guys.
What
I
would,
think.
what would you want there? You got this. You want the
Maybe get
sciences?
like a woman in there, or
Yeah,
like
you definitely would want at least.
at least probably one.
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
maybe two,
Yeah.
maybe more.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's funny. Who else is going to be on the council?
The ruling council of Earth.
What other topics would you want? You want science and engineering for sure, and you do want the arts.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
But
We got our bases covered there.
and they get comedy too, which is the arts.
Yeah.
So what else would you want there? You'd want history. You know,
Yeah.
you'd want a history
humanities type
Yeah,
person.
Yeah.
What about the girl who got shot in the face but then started a school? You remember her?
What?
You know who I'm talking? Mahala.
She got shot in the face?
Yeah, I think. Or she was like an ISIS slave or something like that.
Do I know this person?
And she's like she's like a famous humanitarian figure.
Maybe I do know who she is.
You know who I'm talking about?
But maybe I didn't know she got shot in the face.
I thought she like got. Let's
yeah.
edit this out. Maybe.
No. Not gonna edit it out. I'll edit something in. So that
Okay.
actually, I'll tell you, one of the things I want to start to have at some point is to have some physical object in here for me to put things on in post.
Yeah.
You know, like something like a green screen type thing. That's a real thing in reality.
I think you should have to close the show. I think you should have like a bit. I think you should have like a bit or a game that you do, or like a questionnaire, like the Bernard Pivot questionnaire from In the Actors Studio with James Lipton. Like just a nice little.
That's a good
coda,
idea.
You know what I mean?
I do have like a couple ideas. Like I haven't really decorated in here yet.
Okay.
I have a bunch of stuff down there that I've been gathering. That's because this used to be a carriage house. It was built to be a carriage house. So it was built in 1900. It's for horse and buggy, basically.
It's beautiful.
So this was a hayloft. That's why there's the boards over there come up. It's where you could shove the hay down.
Get the hay up, yeah.
Yeah, and that door opens so you can get the hay delivered.
Sure.
But where is I going with this?
Your ideas.
Oh, so I have like old wagon wheels and like stuff that kind of fits. Actually, I have somewhere. I got these. It's actually an unopened beer from like the 50s.
I saw a few of the like pop top beers that you literally had to like stab with a
Did you
knife.
see them down there?
Yeah.
One of them is unopened. It's still got it in there.
What are you suggesting?
that someday someone's gonna drink that. No, I'm
Jesus.
kidding.
Yeah, get insurance first.
no, I'm kidding. I also did you well, I'm not gonna do that right now. Well, what do you have in mind? What kind of a thing could we do?
I don't know, man. Yeah, like I'm saying, like do a Fallon type game, or you know what I'm saying? Like just a little closer, a little formalized.
I was
thing.
thinking since Ben lives with me, I was gonna force him to be my Jamie from Joe Rogan. Like he's just over there, he never gets to be on.
Yeah.
And he just Ben, look it up. Ben, look this up. Look this up.
All right, hold on. Wait, what can we do here? All right. And get out the old phone.
Like rock, paper, scissors.
That's a nice start. I wouldn't mind, but what are the stakes?
I don't know. I don't know if I want this to be scary. What did
I want to give the audience a thrill for
You
the
wanna give
last.
them a thrill?
Yeah.
I don't. We could put the candle out. The candle's just. It's not very thrilling.
No. But that's not bad. I mean, we simultaneously. There's a lot of fucking hot wax in there, though. You'd have to be real delicate with it. Hold on. All right, so.
Hold on. Let me. Where's my?
Bring it over here. Simultaneously extinguish the candle.
I was gonna turn those lights off. I can do it from my phone if I could find my phone.
Oh shit.
Whatever.
I'm starting to get into this one.
Ready?
Bring it so the cameras get it. All right.
Do you want me to turn those lights off?
Turn those lights off, Jim.
All right, guys.
While Jim's looking for the lights, I just want to go ahead and plug the shows I have coming up. I'm going to be performing with Will Kemp's Players, my theater company, and we are touring throughout the capital region throughout the summer. You can find us at willkempsplayers.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Will Kemp's Players. Now, things have become very sensuous.
I'm just seducing you. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I meant to do that. I did want you to do that.
Uh-huh.
Do you have anything? What are you working on this year? Before we go, what are you working on this year?
So we're doing Hamlet and A Midsummer Night's Dream. I've got a couple other things I've got coming up.
What are you more? I think you were more excited for Hamlet.
Yeah, I'm in Hamlet. I'm just I'm producing A Midsummer Night's Dream, but they're both going to be fantastic.
Who are you in Hamlet?
So because I did so much last year, I'm taking a step back. I'm just doing a couple of like smaller supporting roles in that. But that's really fun because I get to play a lot of different people. So
That's cool.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's fun. All right. You ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Oh wait. You took it away from me.
You lost.
Fuck. Oh, all right. Who can get them both? All right. No, I don't mind that.
Oh shit. All right, man. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me. I
You
appreciate
got
it. Bye.
Oh fuck, that was fun. How long did we do?